Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. A minute, why is that? Let me just sort this because that shouldn't be like that. Why is that moved? I will sort it later. We'll sort it later. Anyway, good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. We're live on a Sunday night to talk about the excitement of the Champions League. And are you ready for the excitement of the Champions League? Or is it going to be the same old for Celtic? Hopefully not. We'll just do this first of all. Yes, the excitement of the Champions League. There's currently 11 people on. Afternoon, Baz JJB says afternoon. We're waiting on a few folk getting on because I didn't tell people I was coming on at this time, so we'll see how many we do get on this afternoon. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers speaking to the media yesterday, obviously saying that after that perfect start to the season, after the perfect start we've had, and the best start since 1906, with the clean sheets, the 2-1 win over Hearts is 17 goals and 5 clean sheets from 6 domestic matches. Now, our opponents midweek, are also sitting top of their league with 15 points, and they've won their 6 games. Although it was a 2-1 victory, that they had on Friday, I think it was. I'm not too sure, but anyway, when it comes to the Champions League, I think the highlight last year was victory over Feyenoord, with the Lagerbelke header. Remember that? The Lagerbelke header. Um, this year, we're going into the Champions League. It's a different format. It's a group stage. But are we that excited? Do we really think that Celtic are going to achieve great things in the Champions League this season? Or will it be a case of the same old and we're going to be disappointed? I know that a lot of fans out there, a lot of Celtic fans will think that we can do something, but when you're playing a team that are just in as good form, just as good form as what we are, it's going to be an interesting start to our Champions League campaign with Slovan Bratislava sitting on 15 points also. But before we talk about that, there was people, I noticed a comment on the other channel, yes, and I hope you're enjoying the other channel. Baz does uh, football meltdowns. That's a new project that will be undertaken, and there's going to be watching football fans and meltdowns from all around the world, not just Scottish football. So you make sure that you check out that channel. But after the game yesterday and during the game yesterday, Rio Hatate seemed to take a little bit of a hump. It seemed to take a little bit of a hump. The fact that the ball was taken off him at the penalty, and Callum McGregor come up and spoke to the player, spoke to Rio Hatate, and it's like, look, mate, your form's shite. You've got to get to Arnie. And Arnie turned around and said, I'll be back. Um, he said, I'll be back. So does that bode well for Celtic going into the Champions League? Or is it just the case that Rio Hatate is disappointed with his own performance? And Rio Hatate, who said at the beginning, during the summer, that he wanted to show the better side to him this season, and we all know that he's made noises about wanting to leave the club. But the way that the conversation must have went yesterday, Callum McGregor pulling rank and saying, "Look, Arnie Engels is taking the penalty." How do you feel about that? How do you feel about people saying that after the game yesterday, Rio Hatate kind of moped about the pitch and didn't look as if he wanted to be there? And there was one comment that I said that I seen was sell that player as soon as possible. I still think that he'll be a player that will be sold next summer, but we need to get the best out of him. And I think that Rio Hatate. I think it is just the way that he is. I think he's just a bit moody on himself, and he's a bit hard on himself, and that's why he looks as if he's not really in the mood, when realistically it's probably him giving himself a hard time. So tell me what you think in the comment section. And we're going to do a poll tonight. Um, nice, easy one. I'm going to get to that in a minute, Zed, because I even said at the pub yesterday. I think everyone knows who I think should have been playing from the start. Anyway, let's jump into the comment section before we go any further and say hello to everyone, because that's the way we do it on this channel. First up was Roseanne. Hello, Baz. And all Patrick was in. Hail, hail from Motherwell. Gadget was in. Afternoon Troops. Shea Brown was in. Northampton Tim was in. Another 3 points. That's what counts. That's all that counts, isn't it? Even though everyone from Donegal. Kieran says, hail, hail, Baz. John is in the house. Paul Baird is in the house. Spacey says, hail, hail, Baz. And Stephen Johnson and the troops as well. Dundee United were mints today. False hope for the Sudconians. Yeah, I understand that they weren't as good as what. And I seen one comment very early on Twitter. I never watched the game, but I seen one comment on Twitter saying, "How the hell was that team sitting behind Aberdeen in third position?" Because they're absolute mints. Hail, hail, troops from America. Down with the Rangers, says James. Zed said Arne Engels was excellent yesterday, as was Nico Kuhn. Do a poll, Baz, on the Champions League results. I've never done one of the results, but are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to the Champions League this season? Is it going to be the same old for Celtic, or is it going to be a new dawn and we're going to actually achieve something? Do you believe that Brendan Rodgers has it in him and has matured enough as a manager and has changed enough as a manager to be able to change the way that Celtic play in the Champions League? Now, you did see it yesterday when Celtic were playing, that they were doubling up on players in the opponent's half, and I think that's I've said since the start of the season, I think you're getting a little insight into the way that the manager wants us to perform in Europe. And I think previous seasons it's been hard for the team to adapt playing a certain style of football in the league and then trying to take that into the Champions League when there are better players in the Champions League. When you look at it, the way that Brendan has the team playing this season with the doubling up on players and getting to them in their own half and, defending from the front, as it were, I think that could bode well. It could bode well for us in the Champions League. Let's hope it does for a change. But it's going to be a tough game this week, I think. Jump back into do a poll, Baz. I've done that. Stephen Johnson, how are you, pal? Says Kieran. Even Baz says Desmond. James Boy says hail from West Sussex. No more excuses for Hatate, please. Bernardo has much more energy, commitment, not to mention a greater all-round skill, says Gezobel. Well, I think everybody knows my thoughts on it. I thought that Rio Hatate, before the game, I thought Rio Hatate would get dropped because the under-21 Portuguese captain that we have playing for us, the under-21 Portuguese captain. You're not under-21 Portuguese captain if you're a bad player, are you? And this is no disrespect to Rio Hatate, but he scored a goal for his country during the week, and you're going to say it's under 21 level. Does it matter? Of course it matters. He scored a goal at international football level, no matter what level it is. Rio Hatate didn't get any game time whatsoever. With the form that Paulo Bernardo has been in since the start of the season, I thought that the manager would go with Paulo Bernardo, but you have to think about what the manager would be thinking. I want to keep Paulo Bernardo for the Champions League level. So maybe that's why he didn't start with Paulo Bernardo and he gave Arne Engels his first start at Celtic Park. But I really think that when it comes to Rio Hatate and Paulo Bernardo, for me, on current form, and people will say, look, Rio Hatate is a better football player all day long. But on current form, and we went through this at the same stage last season. It was the exact same stage last season that David Turnbull was in better form than Rio Hatate. So in current form, I'm saying that Paulo Bernardo is in way better form and in a better place, maybe mentally, than what Rio Hatate is. Rio Hatate did speak about the fact he wanted to play at a higher level. He's probably going to feel aggravated that even though he came into Celtic before the one and only 26 million pound player that left this summer, he came in before him, but he's still at the club. Celtic did turn down a late offer for Rio Hatate, and maybe that's getting to him again. But he is going to be here for the rest of the season, or at least until the next transfer window. So for me, Rio Hatate really needs to up his game. And I've been saying that since the start of the season. I think Paulo Bernardo is the better player out of the two in current form. Let that be said. Anyway, there's no easy games in the Champions League. Paul Bear said, definitely looking forward to the Champions League this season. Says Paul Baz. Europe is coming. Think the players are looking after themselves, said Edward, Stephen Johnson's in the house. John is in from Tipperary. It's funny because I've just been. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, there's no easy games in the Champions League. In the Champions League, says, "Oh boy, away Hatate is off the boil. Home or away, Hatate is off the boil. Hatate was off the boil at the same stage last season, though. Is that a worry for Celtic, or does the manager know that Rio Hatate is just a grumpy little sod and he takes too much out on himself? And at the end of the day, Paulo Bernardo was left to make sure that he's 100% fit for the Champions League game. And will Paulo Bernardo start before the one and only Rio Hatate this coming week? Very optimistic about the Champions League this season. Brendan has built a squad that can compete with the best teams in the world. Let's have it. Well, that's a statement and a half by Kevin. That is a statement and a half. He's very optimistic, and we can compete with the best teams in the world. Magnus says Hatate has heard he's been all over the place in the last 12. It's been all over the place in the last season. Jayon says, hail, hail, boys and girls. Paul Baird says, Paulo will start on Wednesday. I think so as well, Paul. I think Paulo Bernardo's a cert to start because of the European pedigree. And I think Arne Engels will start with him. So I think Rio Hatate will be the one that gets dropped. Magnus says, evening Baz and the hoops. Jim says, hail, hail, Stephen. Liam Mel says, 3-1 on Wednesday. I'm not even going to get to predictions yet because we'll talk about them first of all, and then we'll get to what we think. We're not even going to talk. There's plenty of time to talk about predictions. Plenty of time. Business idea for Celtic, Rio's Hot Tatties, food bar on the Celtic way. Oh, jeez. The team wasn't great yesterday, but that's the international break. Yeah, oh boy, you're always going to get a bit of a hangover after the international break. It's always going to happen, but we had the squad to... look, I'm not going to say that it was... you've got to give Hearts some credit for playing so defensive. I mean, there were points at the first half yesterday where Hearts were sitting with 6 along the 18-yard box. And it's hard to break that down. The best teams in the world can't play that down. Your Barcelona's, your Real Madrid, and who the fuck you're trying to kid, will find that hard to break down. They will ultimately break it down, just like what Celtic did. But it's anti-football. It is anti-football. Hail, hail, Stephen says, Paul Baird. Desmond Donald says, hail to Stephen. John says, and none of the men from Japan looked their best yesterday. Kyogo does this umpteen times where you're thinking he's odds-on favourite to score a goal. And that miss at the beginning of the game yesterday, where he was one-on-one with the keeper, and he puts it past the post. And you're thinking, and as a Celtic fan, you're thinking back all the years that Henrik Larsson did the exact same run, and there's only one conclusion to that, and it's in the back of the net. And I think as Celtic fans, we sometimes look at Kyogo and you think, if he was just that little bit more clinical like Larsson was, I mean, you would have had some crazy offers coming in for him by now. But he's a fantastic little player that we have, but he doesn't have the clinical finishing that Henrik did, does he? And that's no disrespect to Kyogo, because trying to say that he's anything like Henrik Larsson, he's miles apart, absolutely miles. And that opening chance yesterday that he had where he was one-on-one with the keeper, well, that just shows you that he is that miles apart from the one and only king of kings. JGB says, get the thumbs up, everyone. There is currently 52 thumbs up, and there has been 389 people on the One Celtic Fans at View Live this evening. What is going on with the clock? That's doing my head in. And it's changed back to British Standard Time. Why? Oh, there it's there. Fix it there. And we'll do that. We'll do that. There we go. It's fixed. And we are sitting on 18,854 subscribers. So don't get this confused with Baz, the other channel, because somebody commented on the other channel and they were talking pure nonsense because they didn't realise that it was a separate channel. So this is the One Celtic Fans View. So don't forget that. And it's only going to be talking about Celtic on this channel from now on. We're going to leave the meltdown stuff to the other channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that channel because it's going to be doing reactions to a lot of other football stuff from around the globe. Anyway, Henrik missed his fair share of sitters. He did that, says Gazabel, but Um, if Henrik Larsson missed 3 sitters in a game, it means that Celtic probably won 4-0. And you've got to put that into perspective. So there. To be fair, I thought Hatate showed a lot of class handling the pen over to Arnie. The new boy could have scored on his starting debut. So the new boy could score. I don't think it was so that he could score. I think that it was that probably came from higher above. And although Rio Hatate wanted to grab that ball and wanted to take the penalty, that came from above. And the fact that Callum McGregor stepped in tells me that was a Brendan Rodgers decision. Who would you play at the back? Oh, Jesus. Um, let's get over some of the stuff I want to talk about first before talking about Liam Scales at the back in the Champions League. Fairness to Kyogo, there's no many as good as Larson. I said that. Really unfortunate, Ida's goal didn't stand. Yes, I thought Scales was outstanding yesterday. Says Roy. Agree. Hatate looks like he's going for a move. In my opinion, he needs to up his game first. Hazel, I've said that Rio Hatate's got a fantastic opportunity this season. He's got a fantastic opportunity to play at the highest level in the Champions League. And if he wants his big move to another club, there's no other stage to do it in, and that's the Champions League. But if you want to be a starter in the Champions League, you have to be an absolute star for Celtic in the games previous. And although he does what he can do, he just there's a bit of me thinking that he's just not pushing 110%. Rio Hatate at 80% is fantastic. Rio Hatate at 100%, we've seen him at it before. He's unplayable sometimes, but I just don't think that he hits the heights that he expects, and I think that's why he maybe takes the huff. Anyway, as Erin says, Michael Ross Kuhn was outstanding yesterday. Engels played the game of an older, experienced player. Yes, and that's why we paid £9 million for him. Nearly, well, it was 11 million, wasn't it? That's why we paid so much money for him, £11 million, because he has that experience. When Engels scored, Tati went over to the bench and didn't celebrate with the team. That's interesting. You never see those kind of things on the television. So that's interesting that you're saying that. Ataki wants to move to a better performing. He better start performing in Europe. Yeah, I just said that. John says, "Here's the question for you: How much cash would you take to take Maida away? Dyson Maida. He's another £20 million player for Celtic. He's definitely up there in the £20 million bracket. When you see what he brings to Celtic and his pace, yeah, he'll go for more than Rio Hatate. Give a minute, we'll put the fan on again." It's getting rather hot in here. It's getting hot in here. Anyway, I did ask the Celtic fans this evening if you're looking forward to the Champions League this season. And I am going to ask the same question on Friday morning, probably live on Friday morning. I'm going to ask the same question. Are you still looking forward to the Champions League? Or let's see how Celtic play first of all. So currently it's sitting at 97%. Said yes, they're looking forward to the Champions League. And the 3% are Sevconians that are watching but can't comment because it is um, subscribers only to comment, I'm sure. I think it is. Anyway, let's jump down to the end of the comments. Sorry if I've missed out your comments. I would bench Hatate, not Bernardo. Yeah, I would bench Hatate for the start. Give Maida a 5-year contract. He was given an extended contract at the beginning of last season, was he not? All the Japanese boys were. They were all given extended contracts. Maida is unique and very lucky to have him. He is that. He is. I think he was unlucky to get sent off in the Champions League last season. This is the games coming up. The Champions League are the ones that you're going to see how good Dyson is. You're going to see really how good. I thought about 15 million, says John, for Dyson. I think that Celtic will value him between 15 and 20 million, and definitely 15 to 20 million for what he brings to the game. Definitely. Who needs Trusty when they've got Ginger? No, you said it. Hatate went over the bench and got water. Well, there you go. So Brendan talking to him though, and then went over to congratulate Arnie Engels. Did you clean the fan, Baz? Did I clean the fan? Yes, I did. The one on the roof. Yeah, I did. Ida was on side, but Taylor was offside. Was it Taylor that got the ball? It wasn't Taylor that got the ball, was it? It was Palmer. Palmer had his back to. This is what annoys me about that decision, is even though it was away up at the halfway line, he had his back to goal when it was ruled offside. Do you know what I mean? And it's like there has to be a fine line there. Even though he's offside, he's got his back to goal. He's got his back. He's facing the Celtic end when the ball comes to him, but he's offside. Surely it can't be. He's not running forward. I thought there had to be a rule that you had to be running forward for it to be offside. But anyway, it is what it is. Who cares? We managed to get the result. It was disappointing, as the quote Tavernier, who I don't even know if he even spoke to the media today. But anyway, hello there, Baz. Did you see Shanklin was trying to put off Engels by saying stuff? Big pressure, 10 million. I sure my arse. Funny as hell. Yes, I did see that. Big pressure, 10 million my arse. That worked well for him, didn't it? It worked really well for him. How much is how many offers came in for Shanklin this summer? Remember Shanklin, that was going to be who was the most expensive player in Scottish football, according to some Hearts fans, and Rangers couldn't afford any money to put an offer for him, and he's still at Hearts. Nobody came in for him, nobody whatsoever. So Shanklin, shut it. Palmer was not offside. Palmer was offside, not either, says Carly. Can't wait for the Champions League, says Mark. James's voice laughing at Gareth. All right, Baz. Chatting all the baldies. Yep, big up the baldies. TFL, he couldn't put it off angles. Yep. 25 million plus, says Paul Baird. 25 million plus for Dyson? It's interesting. Palmer was looking right down the line, but was standing offside. Yeah, when he recovered the pass. Taylor's pass was onside. Either's goal was excellent. Yes, it is. Bratislava won't be an easy game. It is a must-win. It won't be an easy game because when you look at where they are in their league, they are sitting on 15 points after 6 games. Also, it did take a late goal for them to score to win 2-1 the other evening, but they're sitting top of the league. You've got to look at just what it is. It's a team that are sitting top of the league, unbeaten, similar to Celtic. Let's just hope that we can do it. That's all I'm saying. And let's just hope that it's a game where Brendan gets his tactics right. Brendan did say the other day that he'd been watching some of the games. Hail from Saudi Arabia, says Jim Baxter. Kyogo hat-trick Wednesday. Shanklin has been eating pies during the pre-season. Yeah, take 10 for Hatate just to get him out the door, says Johnny Briggs. Shanklin is nothing now. Average at best. He has no pace. Yeah, he is that. He's probably never going to move away from Hearts either. Probably find that he'll end up with a new contract at Hearts this summer because nobody's coming in for him. Or he'll go to Rangers for free and he'll win nothing. And he'll achieve nothing. That'll be fantastic. Anyway, we've spoken about the fact that Rio Hatate, and it could be a bit that he's just his own worst enemy. Brendan Rodgers has delivered a verdict on Arne Engels, as supporters managed to get an eyeful of the player in the 2-0 victory against Hearts. Although he did score a penalty, he did have some good chances in and around the box. There was one chance that I thought he should have got, then he put it past the post. Brendan Rodgers said about the player after the game, he had 2 great opportunities when he was in the box. When he failed to wrap his foot around it and it went over the bar, and he had another one off the post. Did it go for the post after it went past? It's a bit quick of thinking from the throw-in. He did well. He's going to be a really good player for us. He's tall, he's athletic, he can run, and he's got a good touch. He presses and he counter presses really well. I like him, and that's why we brought him here. At the age of 21, he's only going to improve, says Brendan Rodgers. So I'm pleased for him that he gets the penalty. He showed courage to take it and to score. There's still work that we have to do with him, says Brendan, and with regards to his positioning. It's only natural how we play. And this goes back to the comment that Brendan Rodgers said during the pre-season. He wants to get the players in so that they know the formation that we play and the positioning in the team, and the fact that we didn't get him in. I mean, it would have been fantastic for Brendan to get Arne Engels in right at the beginning of the transfer window and get a full pre-season with him. And this is the downside of us bringing in players late in the transfer window. We're not knocking getting the players in, but it's the timing. And I think if we'd managed to get him in earlier, the guy would be on absolute fire by now. Anyway, once he gets into the rhythm we play, it's just going to take a matter of time. Um, can he and Paulo Bernardo play in that middle together? And what does it really mean for Rio Hatate? Um, those two are on lengthy contracts. He's on a 4-year deal contract, Arnie, and Paulo Bernardo's on a 5-year contract. So you've got to say that they are the future of the club. I think it would be interesting to see what the manager does midweek against Bratislava, and it'd be interesting to see if he goes with those two. Personally, I think he should. I think he should go with the European guys just because I've just got a funny feeling that they two are going to click together. I think sometimes you get a pairing in midfield, and you get a pairing in midfield that are so dynamic and just know how each other play. And I think that Arnie and Paulo Bernardo could be those two in the midfield for Celtic. Now, Adam either is worth his money, Baz, or have we been hoodwinked? John, of course we were hoodwinked. We would have got him for 3 million if we had the clause in in December. Even everyone that was concerned with Norwich at the time said he was only a £3 million player. As soon as Kyogo went down injured with his shoulder on the Sunday, Norwich went, that's it. Just Celtic went and they said, right, we want him. What is it going to cost? And they've went 9 million. And they've went, right then. Put that comes down to the board. That comes down to the board. But anyway, it is what it is, and we've got him. And we've got him in the door. Value goes out the window at this point. And it's all about, can Adam keep scoring the goals the way that he does? He scored a cracker at a goal at the weekend that was ruled offside. That was unfortunate. But if he keeps on plugging away, I still think that he will achieve 20 goals this season. It's a big ask. I know it's a big ask. He scored 9 goals last season with Celtic, but I still think that he will get 20 goals for Celtic this season. And the majority of them, unfortunately, are going to be off the bench unless it is a cup game. But can he score 20 goals? I think he can. I think he can. Let's hold the boards up and notice buying the likes of Arne Engels makes sense, says Michael Ross. Exactly, and we've spoke about this before. The fact that Arnie's came into the team with a certain price tag, and he's people are going to say he's only 21, and we've let 21-year-old players go out on loan, and we've let 20-year-old players go out on loan, but they've been nowhere near the quality. Nowhere near the quality. And it is time that Celtic do go out and buy quality. You know, listen to the meltdowns from across the city where they're on about project players. They're in the position that we were in 5 years ago buying project players. We're no longer buying project players. I think that I think that we've finally got that monkey off our back that you can buy a project player that costs 9 million. He's still a project player, but he's a better standard and better quality of project player. But anyway, we move on for that. We're shut up front apart from Kyogo. We only play one up front. Don't give me this nonsense that we play 3 up front because we're playing 2 wingers and 1 in the middle of the park. So either will score goals, says Joseph. He will that. McCowan Dino. Yeah, look at the fantastic game yesterday. Bernardo hasn't done anything wrong. Could Brendan drop Hatate for the Bratislava game? Yes. I've said that at the beginning of the video, Derek. I think that Hatate will be the one that gets dropped for Paulo Bernardo to come back in. He did it last season. I think he'll do it again. Fukushima FC Sevco. Movsky rolled in the England defence. Either. Great to see McCown score yesterday. 1 million well spent, says Kieran. Who's your starting 11 for the Bratislava game, Baz? Let me talk about that on Tuesday. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. We're not going to talk about it tonight. Got loads to talk about before then. Loads to talk about. Champions League. Anyway, we're talking about Champions League. We've done a poll. Are you looking forward to the Champions League this season. There's been 743 people on the live so far, and there's currently 240 people on the live, but there's only been 172 votes. So make sure to vote, because it's 97% say yes, they're looking forward to the Champions League, and 3% are saying no. Tell me in the comment section why you're not looking forward to the Champions League. That's typical of some fans. If the board brought the whole Real Madrid squad, they would still get no credit from these fans. It's what's Paul? Better late than not signing players, but still give the board no credit at all. Paul Bear's not giving the board any credit. I totally get where you're coming from, Paul. I think from what I'm hearing of Nicholson, he's not the most talkative person. He's not the most talkative. So trying to do deals with him must be a complete pain. And I think it wasn't so much panic buy scenario, but let's get the deals done scenario. I think a lot of the deals could have been done quicker. Arne Engels one, that could have been done. We knew about Arne Engels at the beginning of the transfer window. Why did it take so long? Why was it roughed in? If that was the money they wanted for him, why didn't they go out and get him when Brendan Rodgers wanted the players in when we were in America? And you remember the interviews in America with Brendan at the time. We're going over old news. That's fucking past it. Anyway, let's jump back into the comments section. Do you think the Celtic will sign new players in the January window? Says Jai Jai B. Only if we sell a player. I don't think that we're actively going to go out and strengthen the squad. Only if they think that Rio Hatate is definitely, maybe, in fact, yes. It could be the fact that we maybe no, because maybe Luke's been brought in for the fact that if Rio Hatate goes, you've got young Luke there that can come in and play his position. Will Brendan look to strengthen the squad further? I think he'll look at every department. He doesn't want an overly stretched squad like we had last season and having players then sitting, not even getting on the bench. So it'll be an interesting one. I don't think it's going to be a busy winter transfer window. I don't think it will be at all. I think Brendan got his way as much. He did say that he was wanting to bring in two strikers. He may still bring in another striker. You never know. He did say right at the beginning of the transfer window this season, he said that he wanted to bring in two strikers because Rocco Vata have been bitten by a fucking mosquito. Fucking hardly been bitten all summer. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers did say that he wanted to bring in two strikers this window because Rocco Vata was going to be the third choice striker. We may bring in a younger player, a younger striker. But don't quote me on that. That's the only player, the only one I can do. It's not a kiss, it's a swollen thumb, says the day man. What? Bring back Terry Cassidy immediately. There we go. I'm just reading the comments. Absolutely belter, some of them. Can Engels become a main player in that midfield? That should be the question. And I think that can he become a first team choice? And I think the answer is yes. Cameron Carter Vickers. Cameron Carter Vickers told the media yesterday what Brendan Rodgers said to the players at half time and before the game to make sure that Celtic kept the 5-point gap and to keep us in touch with Aberdeen. Let's face it, because Aberdeen are our closest rivals in the league, and Aberdeen have a 100% record also, so hats off to Aberdeen, and may that continue as long as possible. It'll be interesting when we get a top of the table clash next month when we do play Aberdeen, and then the Rangers will be thinking, yes, we can get that little bit closer to Aberdeen when Celtic beat them. Could that be the game? Could that be the game where Celtic get their first draw of the season, or will Celtic just be steamrolling teams all over the place up until that point? Anyway, the fact that Carter Vickers said there's definitely the manager mentioned before the game when we went out today. So there's definitely he's glad that everyone's back and everyone is in his mind. Obviously, first and foremost is to win this game today, but it's also to keep a clean sheet. It's also to keep a clean sheet. Cameron Carter Vickers, who will he be with on this midweek when we play in Europe. Carter Vickers said it's exciting that the boys are looking forward to the Champions League, but it's all about recovering and preparing for that one. The Slovak side, they're a good side. They're in the Champions League. They can't be a bad side if they're in the Champions League. It's going to be a tough tie against Borussia Dortmund. I don't even want to think about that game because I think we're going to get roasted by Borussia Dortmund. I don't even want to think about that yet. But let's Bratislava. We need to take advantage of their home. We need to take advantage of it being at Celtic Park. And is this one of the games? Is it one of the games where it's a must-win? Will a draw be good enough? I don't think so. I think it is one of those games that is a must-win for Celtic. And if we've got any ambitions at all for the Champions League this season, we need to get off to an absolute flyer of a start. Um, Luke's going under the radar a bit. He's a great player for us, yes, and I want him to keep going under the radar and just keep on performing because that's what gives you the longevity as a Celtic player. If he goes down the same route and just flies under the radar, the same as Callum McGregor's done all his career, the same as Jamesy Forrest has done for the majority of his career, you know, not being a shouty mouth player, being absolutely over the moon when he scored, runs to Brendan Rodgers, high fives Brendan Rodgers when he scores. We'll take a point for Jesus, James. Oh my God, can't take this. Villa game going to be on the beer. The Villa game is going to be interesting. We need to get Alistair Johnson tied down as soon as possible. Baz, does Bernardo start before Hatate? Yes. Yes, he does for me, personally. Um, I think he does all day long. Just get this. You tell me in the comments. We'll do another poll because we'll close that poll down because that's pretty emphatic. 204 votes, 97% saying that they are. Let's do another one quickly. There's 254 folk on. No, that's wrong. Let's do that. Start a poll. Let me just do this and get this one. There we go. There's a poll for you. User asked me the question: should Paulo start before Rio Hatate in the Champions League this week? Is the new poll. 100% say yes so far. A draw on Wednesday not acceptable. A win is the only thing. Says Paul. Hatate at Parkhead. Bernardo away. Interesting. Interesting, Jeff Ray. Make sure that you vote on that because I have asked the question. This is going to see what the fans think on the live this evening. Should Paulo start before Rio in the Champions League this week? And as it currently stands, it's at 77% against 23% for Paulo to start. What happened to Odom Ohm? Well, that's a player that we also. I said this when it was suggested that we're going to get Arne Engels. Let me just check something actually. What? Because I did miss a few things at the weekend. Um, where is it? Match center. So yeah, the team for Odom Ohm to get a game. Who are you going to leave out in the midfield? Because in the midfield you've got Bernardo Sanchez. You've got McCown and Bernardo. You've got Luke and Paulo in the midfield, and he's not going to get. Odom Ohm's not going to get a game in front of those two. Not a chance. Maybe Odin Ohm will be one player that leaves Celtic in the next transfer window, goes out on loan. Um, and then we'd have to bring someone in. But yeah, anyway, Hatate was an empty shirt yesterday, says JT Boy. Bernardo to start on Wednesday alongside Kalmak and Engels. Hatate's range of passing at Parkhead will be crucial, I think. Jeffrey, you're on drugs. Hatate couldn't open a tin of beans, says Johnny. Hatate is our Japanese Luvo. Interesting. Let's think. It's always going to be Paolo to start on anyway. I think so also. Hatate is a better player, I would say, than Bernardo, especially in Europe. I never looked out of place against Madrid at Paradise, said Tank supporter Glasgow. That's an interesting one. Hatate was a bit of a passenger against the Huns also. Bernardo is 100% start since Gareth. Rather Luke start over Hatate. Obviously, Bernardo is the man, says Michael Ross. That's an interesting one. Would you put young Luke, with his inexperience at that level, would you put him straight into the Champions League over Rio Hatate or Paulo Bernardo? That's an interesting one. Wasn't left out the Champions League team. Yeah, I know he's not left out the Champions League team. He's in the squad. He's in the squad, but he can't make the bench as it is just now, and he'll not make the bench against in the Champions League either. I mean, you've got to you've got to have the squad has got to be put in, and I just can't see who you're going to leave out for Ohm to get in the team. Celtic's keeper played the benefit game at Ibrox and that. Hatate just came back from a long journey to Japan for no reason. He's expected to play a game. I don't think so. Paulo Bernardo had to travel as well. Do you know? So uh, I don't get this. You go to sleep when you're on a plane. You get your head down and just crash out. That's what I do. Hitati couldn't lace Lubo's boots. Yes, I did raise my eyebrows at that one. Midfield is a head scratcher. They're all amazing. It says you'll never walk alone. 1888. They are that, and I'm glad it's Brendan Rodgers that's having to make the decision because when you look at the team that started in midfield, you had McGregor, Engels, and Hitati. Right, you've then got young Luke and you've got Paulo Bernardo sitting on the bench. You've then got to weigh up. Do you put another midfield player on the bench? You've got to have Sinisalo on the bench as a keeper. You've got to have Trusty on the bench. You're expecting him to start getting game time. You're going to have another defender, which is Ralston, on the bench. And then you're going to have two wingers. So you're going to have Forrest and Palmer. Do you know? And it's Odo Mom's got to be thinking, I really need to up my game. He needs to up his game in training to get in front of these guys. And you've got Alex Valley, who hasn't been seen at all at Parkhead. Will Celtic will Celtic drop the one and only? I mean, Alex Valley's been brought in for Champions League experience. Will the manager do the unthinkable and drop Greg Taylor? There you go. There's a permutation that we never thought about. Will the manager drop Greg Taylor and bring in Alex Valley to start the Champions League game for his European pedigree? Tell me that in the comments, because you're not bringing in a player of his caliber who's worth a cracking amount of money and he's on 20 odd grand a week from Barcelona. You're not bringing him to sit on the bench all season. You're sorry, but you're not bringing him to sit on the bench all season. Let me just jump back in. Japan time shifts too much. Luke could be the new Hatate, but we need to sell him first. I think Hatate he'll either be away at the next window or the summer. That's for definite. Hatate will shine on Wednesday, says Sunstop Sheep. Couldn't go back to Hatate. And could you go back to Hatate and Bernardo? No, I don't think so. I don't think you're spending £11 million on a player. He is the future of the midfield. And it's either going to be one or other that's going to drop out. I don't know. It's up to the manager. The manager's got a hard decision to make. Anyway, it would be a real surprise to me if Taylor was started. I've just said that. Baz, as he sits in the Barca bench, says. he didn't sit on the Barca bench last year. He was out on loan all last season. So there you go. But you still don't bring a player of that quality in on loan for to sit on the bench. Not a chance. Not a chance. You don't bring a player who has quality in to sit on the bench. Keogh is pusher off, says Carly. Um, he will start Taylor. To be fair on it, Saturday, Dyson is quiet by his own standards on Saturday as well. Itati is worse than since Lou. Keep the same team, they're fine. Taylor will start the first Champions League for sure. Engel's stature and movement reminds me of German maestro Michael. Well, there you go. Do you think so? Hmm. Why on earth would you drop Taylor? I'm not asking. I'm not saying he will drop Taylor. I'm just asking if the manager will, because you don't bring somebody in that's on more money than Greg Taylor for him to sit on the bench. It's a weird one that we've brought him in on loan anyway, because it takes around about, Brendan Rodgers has said this, it takes a good 3 or 4 months for a player to get to adjust to. I mean, I know that Alex Valley's English is perfect because they teach really good English over here. It's amazing that, isn't it? um, but I think is you don't bring somebody in of his quality to just sit on the bench all season and pay out the money that we do. It's a strange one. I thought if we were going to bring someone in, we would have bought them. But anyway, we'll wait and see. 97 votes. Should Paulo start before Rio in the Champions League this week? 73% say yes. 27% say no. Valley's not played at a high level. Well, you could say that the second level in Spain is probably higher than the than the current level that he's playing at in Scotland. That's for sure. But I'll find out because I wouldn't put it past it actually, because there's some quality teams that have been knocked down out of the La Liga. Elche being one of them. Elche that have got a massive, massive stadium, and they fill it every week. Anyway, Hattati's a poor man, Peter Grant. Hattati's a poor man's Peter Grant. I wouldn't say that. Valley's on 24 grand a week. No idea why we loaned him. That's my thinking behind it, Michael Ross. You're not bringing in a player that's on 24 grand a week. And he can't be a bad player if he's on 24 grand a week at Barcelona. I'm just saying that now. And folks slagging him off. Do you know what I mean? He's on bigger wages than the majority of the current Celtic squad. So Peter Provo was one of my heroes. He was Doug Poo. He was that. I think we might need to wait till Falkirk game. Yeah, I think so. Porky really doesn't know, does he? Ernest said Valley will need to be on top form to keep wee Greg out the side. But wee Greg Taylor has a reputation for upping his game, which can only be good for Celtic, because every time that someone comes into Celtic that Greg Taylor is going to be replaced by, Greg Taylor turns around and says to the manager, "Oh, come on, boss. Put my pina colada. Get to Alex Valley and tell him he's staying on the bench." Anyway, he was fighting for a starting spot at Barca. It was that, but it's hard enough to get into the Barca team. He's on 24 grand a week. That's all I am saying. Let's finish off that poll. We've had 105 votes. I'm going to end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 75% say 74%. It was at 75 when I finished it. YouTube's at it again, stealing 1% of the votes. It's corruption. Should Paulo start before Rio in the Champions League this Thursday? 74% say yes. 25% say no, he shouldn't. And it was 106 votes. Being on high wages doesn't mean they are good. Look at Sevco. Being on high wages at Barcelona means that the young guy has obviously a lot of potential for the Barcelona team, because Barcelona don't pay that high wages anymore, and especially to their younger players. And they are spending high wages on bringing in a lot of lot of the younger talent in Spain. Anyway, tell her to do a good job for now. Just drop some form, and it's a no-brainer. How much would Billy Stark be worth these days? Well, that's the one that he's going to all think about for the rest of the evening, because that is me done and dusted for this evening. There's been 1,095 people on the live so far. And thank you to everyone that has been on the live. I shall see you first thing tomorrow morning. If you are looking for something else to watch right now, I'm going to give you a video you can go watch actually. Just 2 seconds. You can click over to the other channel that does have some brand new content on it, and you can go and watch this video here. It's all about the Sevco manager talking nonsense as usual. Anyway, jump over to the other channel. 30 subs to go. Yes, there is that. This will always be the main channel. We are on, where is it? 18,858 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1888 so I can take a screenshot of it with me like this. And then we're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Go to the other channel, enjoy the other channel. Baz watches other shit. Anyway, good night and God bless you all. Another great show, says Michael Ross. And have a fantastic evening to all the Celtic fans all around the world.